All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Implementing and Promoting Digital Library Resources. Before we begin, please take a moment to make sure the webinar is working properly on your computer or device. And we'll begin in just a second after you check out your settings and your equipment. And please send us your questions throughout. You can see here on the screen instructions on how to do that, but you can tweet using the hashtag #SageTalks. You can send us messages here in the chat box, and one of our friendly associates will get back to you if you have any problems. And also we'll be collecting questions throughout that we will answer at the end of our discussion today. And my name is Heather Dray. I am the Library Relations Manager here at SAGE. And in my role at SAGE, I provide training and outreach to all of my colleagues in libraries, as well as faculties and students on all of our online resources. I have a long career in libraries, both working for libraries and serving libraries my entire life. And one of the great things about a career in libraries, as you all know, is you get to meet so many fabulous fellow librarians and learn so much from them. And I'm really excited today that we have two of the best here to share their thoughts and ideas with us on implementation and promotion of our online resources throughout our campuses. Next slide, please. Here we go. First, we have the lovely Ann Jacobson. Ann has held a variety of public services positions at NPS since receiving her MLIS from San Jose State in 1998. She's presented at a variety of conferences, both nationally and locally. And her comments today are going to involve increasing visibility and use of online resources from her perspective as a reference and instruction librarian. Next, we have the charming Michael Arthur. He is the department head of resource acquisition and discovery for the University of Alabama Libraries.
Hey, Heather.
Yes.
I'm going to pause you one moment because it appears as if some of the audience members are having issues with the slides. Let me go ahead and relaunch that really quickly.
Okay.
Okay, I think we should be about good. Audience, if you could go ahead and let us know how that's looking. Okay, I think we're good to go. Heather, I'll let you take it away.
Okay, I don't know where you all lost your slide, but we were just discussing the lovely Ann Jacobson here. Her credentials, or a snapshot of them, are on the slide here for you. And her comments today are going to be focused on, sharing her experience with raising visibility and raising use of the online resources on her campus through her faculty outreach. And she's got some great information to share with us on that front. And then next we have Michael Arthur. He, of course, is the department head of resource acquisition and discovery for the University of Alabama Libraries. So a neighbor of mine. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia, so I'm always excited to have a Southerner here with me. And Michael received his Master of Library Science in 1999 from Indiana University at Bloomington. He is very active in ALA. I'm sure many of you have seen him speak before. He, of course, is a regular at the Charleston Conference. He's presented at NASEG, Charleston Conference, other national and local conferences. He's the past chair of the Collection Planning Committee for the State University Libraries in Florida and the past co-chair of the Collection Planning Committee for the Association of Southeastern Regional Libraries, or ASERL. He currently serves on our Library Advisory Board here at SAGE. and he enjoys featuring the great work of others in his regular column, being earnest with collections in the Against the Grain publication. So please join me in welcoming our wonderful panelists today. And this webinar should last about an hour. We're going to record it and, of course, archive it for future viewing, so you'll have it whenever you'd like it. And we'll be sending out a link to it and to access the slides to all the registrants in the coming weeks. So look for that follow-up information. And again, if any of you have any problems with audio or viewing mode during the webinar, please use the Q&A box at the right of your screen, and we'll get back to you with help. And please, Sage Talks, hashtag Sage Talks, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to ask them and leave your comments there. So, we got off to a rough start, but without further ado, let's meet our panelists. So, we will start with Anne. Anne, if you could please describe your library, your institution, and the population you serve.
Great, thank you, Heather. So I work in beautiful Monterey, California. I'm a librarian at the Naval Postgraduate School, and we are a military academic graduate school. We have about 2,700 master's degree students. We're not really an undergraduate institution at all. And about a third of the students are distant students, and then the rest come here as, you know, part of their military tour. They get to come here to Monterey. Some of the distant students are Department of Defense civilians, and about 15% of our students here on campus are international military officers, so that's always very interesting to work with them. Our students tend to be older than typical students, and because they're military officers and they already have some experience under their belt. So they're usually late 20s to late 30s. We also have a very large faculty considering the small size of the student population. We have about 700 teaching and research faculty, and that's because a lot of the faculty are engaged in research. All those 700 are not, you know, teaching 2,700 students. There's a lot of other work that goes on here. And I think the last thing I'll say about the students and faculty is that a lot is crammed into our students' programs. They tend to be very short and intense, so everybody is very busy and very focused, and they've been out of school for quite a while. Our library is pretty small. We have approximately 28 FTE staff. Only 2.5 of us are reference librarians, and then we get some help from some of the other librarians doing subject-related support. Our budget is about $5.5 million, and of that annual budget, about 35 to 40% of our budget is spent on content, and the vast majority of that is for online resources. So, of course, as for everybody, that's just really important to us, how to get the word out about what we have so that it's used.
Wonderful.
Hello, everyone.
What about you, Michael?
Okay, well, I'm at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, so we are the state's flagship university, I guess we could call it. I've only been here about 10 months. We have, in our library, we have a main library and then 3 branches, one for education, science and engineering, and business. So all total we have 44 faculty librarians and 74 staff, full-time staff in our library. As far as the university, it's a little over 40,000. I think the last count I heard was around 42,000 head count. Our FTE is 32,500. And that's broken down roughly to about 28,500 undergraduates and about 3,800 graduates. As far as the campus, you know, like I said, I've been here 10 months. I think it's, you know, it's definitely a vibrant campus, a lot of growth, trending upward, trying to, I think, as a university, reach the next level. And so it's an exciting place to be right now. It is in the downtime between sessions, so it's kind of quiet around campus, but it's definitely not quiet during the regular academic year. We spend about $9 million a year on library resources as far as from state monies, and then there are several grants and endowments and things like that we spend from. But that's should give you a little idea of where we're at. And I can say that since this is focused on marketing of library resources, there was no specific efforts to market library resources here prior to me arriving, and that's something that I wanted to bring with me from my previous institution, so we'll talk more about that as questions come up.
That's great. Well, thank you for giving us a little, laying the groundwork for us for our discussion today. And I'd like to know, Anne, so who on your library staff actively works with you on promotion of resources? How does that work, or who helps you with that?
Well, mostly it's actually left up to the subject librarians. So the individual librarians do outreach to the areas that they support. But I have to say that indirectly we have web librarians who obviously the presentation of information on our website and making resources visible that way is huge. So they might not be doing direct outreach, but they're making our website look nice. And then we also have one person who's pretty talented with making slides and things like that. But basically we're pretty small, and so it's left to the subject librarians to do that kind of work.
And what about you, Michael?
So we have one professional position that reports directly to the dean that is really in charge of all promotion for the library, including newsletters, outreach to donors, and then we also push most of the marketing through our librarian selectors. There are about 15 librarians that do collection development and liaison work. And then, of course, myself and the associate dean for research and collections also gets involved with marketing. Before I got here, the professional position had to spend quite a bit of time just marketing the library as, you know, the services in the library as its larger functions, not so much collections. So when I got here, we met early on to discuss what role collections could have being marketed through her office, and so that's one of the things I've been working on that'll come up in questions a little bit later.
Okay, great. Well, I'll throw these out to both of you and just jump right in there. I'm interested to know, what are some quick wins that you've had for promoting library products? And what are some of the easiest ways you found to communicate with students and faculty about new or existing online resources?
Michael, do you want to get a turn to go first?
Sure, okay. So I think that like when I think about quick wins, I think it's what are the opportunities that you have to reach out to large numbers of either students or faculty at one time, because so much of what we do in marketing resources ends up going to small numbers of people. So one of the things that we've had success at is getting to summer conferences or times when faculty are in large numbers, meeting with them at department meetings, so you get the entire department or the bulk of the department. I did that recently with the Modern Languages department here. It's also been done with several of the departments in the sciences. Also, times when we can get distribution of information about resources out at times when the building is heavily used. So during our finals week, in preparation for that, we did a promotion downstairs, kind of for fun, but also kind of to promote a resource. We did a promotion for Flipster, and we thought it would be fun for the students to see what kind of magazines they could see in Flipster, but also we bought some coloring books that are in Flipster and had a coloring event where students could take a break from studying. They went over and did a Flipster coloring book, turned it in, and got some free swag. So that went well. We had heavy use of that, you know, during finals. Not so much that we were trying to get any long-term use out of it, but rather just wanted to show students that there are things in the library that they can do besides just academic stuff. But I think it's the thing is, for me, it's trying to reach large numbers of people. So how do we do that? And one of the other ways is through having publisher events here on campus, where we invite one or more publishers to come in, spend half a day, an entire day, either marketing resources to faculty or our selectors, because they really also need to sometimes know what all we have. We have a lot of stuff, and sometimes it's hard to know exactly what we do have. So I think we've had pretty good success, especially when we've sent those marketing materials out either in mass emails or through blogging, but I think some of those end up, you're not really sure how many emails get read and you're not sure how many people see the blog. But when you have 100 faculty in the room for a large event, or if you can go to where they are in large numbers, I think that's the easy win as far as promoting library resources.
Okay, I'm not sure that I have that much juicy stuff to add to what Michael already said about this, but I think in terms of easy wins reaching large number of students, our easiest wins are the fact that we are in an environment where students can be mandated to do things. And so maybe 4 years or so ago, we were able to have a victory where library orientations became required part of all the students' orientations. And so of course at a library orientation, you're not focusing so specifically on a, X or Y resource, but it's really given us a chance to raise the visibility of the library. We walk them all through the library, we show them the library website and some things like that. So in terms of a quick win, reaching numbers of people, that would be it. We also have a annual campus fair, and at that we're able to reach a lot of people, not only students but faculty and staff. And one thing that really helps us with those is vendor goodies, as I call them. So for example, if we have, I'll just name ProQuest because they're one of our biggest vendors. If ProQuest sends us materials, freebies or whatever, we don't just let people grab them. We take advantage of the opportunity to say, hey, that's one of our biggest databases, be sure to check it out. Instruction sessions, I'd say, are a quick win in terms of promoting library products. I think I'm just going to leave it at that for now. I have some other things that I'd rather take my airtime to talk about.
Well, I'm all for mandates, so I like that. I love that idea. So how do you work with faculty to promote your resources pertinent to the courses that they're teaching?
Shall I start this one, Michael? Okay, so I have to say that for me, maybe I'm a little bit of a contrast to what Michael's been talking about because he's in a very large institution, but for me, a lot of my work with faculty, it really is small numbers. It's that personal touch of networking efforts. So I show up at faculty meetings and other campus events. I see a faculty member hanging around the library with their coffee. I'll go up and start talking to them and schmoozing with them. I'll create reasons to stop by their office looking like I had business over there in the building when maybe I did and maybe I didn't. I send out emails to every new faculty member in the areas I support and invite them to come over and meet with me so that one by one I sit down with them and I'm able to talk with them about what they do, both teaching and research, and be sure they're aware of the resources that we have and try to inject myself that way. And so as a result of these very personal efforts, I end up being able to reach more numbers because I've been able to collaborate with faculty on research guides. The subject matter that is taught here at the Naval Postgraduate School is pretty darn specialized, and so when I can work with a faculty member to create a research guide that I know they're going to use for their classes and that they're going to be pointing the students to the appropriate resources and my guide that has those appropriate resources, that's worked very well for me. I have managed to get faculty, again, through this mostly kind of a one-on-one thing, say, hey, will you do a tutorial for me about X resource or Y resource, and they post it in their class. Other things like that. So one of my favorites is being able to, and I'll be saying more about this later hopefully, being able to get permission to work with faculty to embed links to the appropriate library resources right in their course management software, their class. Ours, we happen to use Sakai, we used to use Blackboard. So I don't know if that's the kind of thing you were looking for, Heather, but that's what comes to mind for me.
Yeah, did you want to share that stuff with us now? Are you able to hop on now and show us what you're talking about?
Oh, sure, I could do that. Actually, what I did is I put some things on a slide, some slides, some PowerPoints,
Okay.
because I was a little nervous about going into somebody's Sakai course site. But let me see here. I'm going to proceed very slowly and deliberately so that I don't mess anything up. So let me bring up my slides here. And there's not very many of them here. It's just easier than going into a slide site. Okay. So could you tell me now, are you seeing my slides or are you seeing a whole bunch of other stuff also?
I'm seeing your slides.
And you're not seeing like pictures of you guys and my interface with the web management and all that. It's just the slides?
Well, we still see each other, but your slide's nice and big, so I can.
Okay, good.
On there. Yep.
Okay, great. And so what happened for me, this is one particular example, and it's how I got acquainted with Heather, I think, and probably how I'm ending up talking here today, is I was having a lot of trouble getting the research methods faculty in the department that I've supported for a lot of years, which is business and management, was having a hard time getting them to allow me to work with them in their research methods class. And so over the years, you know, I've been very persistent, talking with them and getting to know them and all that, but had not had this opportunity. And when we got SAGE Research Methods online, Heather, I believe you reached out to me after a few months and just said, hey, you know, I work with SAGE and any way I can help you. And I told her about this challenge I was having where, you know, this is the perfect resource for this class, but I've had a hard time getting the faculty to work with me. And so what Heather suggested is getting the syllabus from the faculty and giving them an example of how I could take the appropriate resources from, in this case it was SAGE Research Methods Online, and week by week in their class syllabus provide the appropriate background materials through SAGE. And so I sent them a little teaser, hey, I could do this for you. No response at all. One day I happened to run into, this comes back to the networking and schmoozing, happened to see one of these faculty members sitting in the library waiting for an appointment, so I went up to him and, you know, hey, did you ever get that email? Oh, yeah, but we're busy, you know how it is. So anyway, I sent it to him again, and he looked at it and he said, sure, we'd like to see what you can do. So I sent an example of how I could link in their syllabus to appropriate resources in SAGE for just 1 week. And they liked it. He actually works with a colleague. They liked it so much that they said, sure, build this out for our whole class. And so I said to them, you know, it's kind of funky to do this in your Word document. Could you give me permission to work in your Sakai course site? And so they did. And that was really wonderful. And that's what I wanted to show here is what I was able to do. And it's nothing fancy, but I think it's a great example of nothing else of how persistence can pay off with some of these things. And so this first slide, which I'm sorry, I'm having a terrible time here because there's too many things. Oh, I'm going to see if I can move some things around here. Okay, great. So my first slide here just shows you that here's the menu bar for their Sakai course site, and they gave me permission, so I was able to go in and create right in their menu bar a link to SAGE research methods. Now ideally I would have been able to do this a little bit more integrated with their syllabus where they listed things week by week, but since it was just a posted Word document, that wasn't going to work very well. So I did it this way, and I was able to, let's see here, if I'm going to be able to move my, there we go. So what I was able to do is when you click on SAGE Research Methods online, I was able to put in a little bit of information about that particular tool right in their course site, and then week by week create these links of what they call method lists where they can just click right here and go to a list of about 10 to 15 resources that are background materials just for that week of the course. And so I did that. This is just where they would link out to in SAGE. And this is what I really like to see. These numbers are incredibly low for you people at 50,000 student institutions, but for us, given the fact that we had this resource, brand new resource, I was pretty excited to see that based on my class in early April, at least some people were starting to look at and use it. And so it's a small scale thing, but it was very important inroad to me because not only did it hopefully raise the visibility of the, let me see here, I'm going to get off of my screen here to show my screen. Is there, can somebody give me a tip, maybe Heather, maybe you can give me a tip on how I could stop sharing this? Stop, there we go.
You got it.
Okay, great, yeah, because it's just distracting me looking at it. What I wanted to say about it really is that it was not only for me the opportunity to feature a resource that I felt these students and faculty really needed to know about and use, but it also turned out to be a door back into this class because after seeing the work that I had done, they invited me to come into their class and talk about SAGE and some other things. And so it provided me, you know, a whole new relationship that I had been trying to work on for years and years to get going, and that was kind of the kicker for that. So I think I would like to give Michael a chance to speak now.
Thanks, Ann. So actually, Ann, I would agree with you totally that when you said early on that most of the promotion involves one-on-one or contact with small numbers of faculty, I think easy wins are the ones where we get that opportunity to meet with faculty in large numbers, but most of the time, even on a large campus, you're meeting with someone that you know because you've met them at another event on campus. I met a lot of new faculty during faculty orientation, and the opportunity to meet with Modern Languages Department, where we had, I think, 20 professors in one setting, that was because I had met someone in new faculty orientation, and this person definitely had an interest in the library. They're, even though they're new here, I can tell that they're going to be a heavy user of the library and a strong supporter. So that person actually set up the opportunity for us to meet with her entire department, so that was good. But you know, when we're trying to find the ways to reach out to the faculty, preferably it's through our selectors. So we push information to them about our resources or changes in our resources, platforms, whatever. We would like them to push that information out to faculty through their newsletters, through direct contact that they have, through we encourage them to attend faculty meetings, but definitely it goes back to the one-on-one contact. Recently, one of the separate issues, probably for a separate webinar, but I'll just touch on it for a minute. One of the things that we've been interested in here is working with faculty to get our resources integrated into their class through actively getting information out about what we have, and then working with faculty to make sure that they understand what rights they have and what they don't have. So I've been meeting one-on-one lately with faculty who have questions about streaming video or ebooks, because those tend to be they're pretty clear on online journals, but ebooks, depending on the platform, and same with streaming video, seems to give them lots of questions about whether or not they can put it directly in Blackboard. How many they have concerns about: is the access stable? Will there be any limit to the number of users? So I've been meeting with them one-on-one about that, and that's an opportunity then to also say, hey, have you seen where you can get the information on our new resources blog, or have you checked out the digital science on campus, that kind of stuff. So it use one opportunity to feed into another. So that's what I have to say about that particular question. I think Ann covered it very well and gave us that opportunity to see SAGE research methods actually in a class, and I think that's definitely where we want to be, and also we definitely want to be able to brand those kind of resources. Here, at least at the University of Alabama, they're all about branding, and so we're trying to do that as much as we can as well.
Well, that was really great, and I always am trying to learn as well. So my big takeaways from both of your comments there were just the importance of building those relationships by any means necessary, right?
Heather, can I say one more thing about that before you move on to a new topic? Because when you're talking about relationships, that reminds me that one of the things that we're able to do with certain kinds of research is resources is what I would call leveraging relationships with library partners. So in the library here, we have our thesis processing office. They work very closely with the students that are working on their theses, and we have the writing center. And so, as you know, again, with SAGE just being one example, but since you're SAGE, I'll use that, we're able to have a little session with our Graduate Writing Center coaches so that they would know about SAGE and would be able to point students to it. We are able, with the thesis processing office, we have RefWorks, and so we're able to work with them to be sure that they know we have that tool and that their students can turn to us for that. So I think for some of the specialized resources that we have, that working with the partners is a really important part of getting the word out.
Yeah, I think so too, and I also loved your comments about having to be persistent. You know, one email is not going to cut it, right? So being persistent and following up. And then really what struck me was your commitment to actually giving them a practical demonstration of how the resource could impact their teaching, right? So I think that's just a super important point, and I'm taking that home with me. So that was a really great discussion. So my next question, but you guys have kind of already answered it, I think, we just wanted to learn a little bit more about the most unique ways that you've promoted resources. Did you have anything to add on that?
I think I've already talked about my most unique way.
Sorry about that.
I think you're muted, Michael.
Can you hear me now? Oh, okay. So sorry about that. I'm not sure if it's unique, but one of the things that I started here at the University of Alabama is when I got here, just as it had been in my previous institution, marketing of resources either wasn't specifically coordinated, but rather just selectors were kind of doing it on their own, or if they were being marketed, it wasn't necessarily being handled out of collections or technical services area. So I started doing that at my previous institution, and when I got here, one of the first things that we did was hired a marketing and advertising student who was beginning in her senior year here at Alabama. So we brought her in and started having her market library resources as her job, about 15 to 20 hours a week that she spent on that. So she started using, you know, the blogs. That there had been a blog here, but she started really pushing to blog about the resources, and the other thing that she did was started using the digital signs on campus. And so one of the things that has worked well for us is that when we put things on the digital signs, it's not just in the library. They go out across campus. So I've been in several different buildings on campus, including the Student Union, where the digital signs are, I'm not sure exactly how many people are sitting and watching them. I think if you're lucky if you catch a few seconds, but they are promoting library resources, and it's sort of a carousel type situation. So each of our resources gets a few seconds, so what we do is put as many on there as we can, so that as those different resources and as well, any place on campus can potentially use those signs. So what we want to do is have enough library related ones that as they all start alternating through, library resources are up there. And so I have seen them multiple times on the digital signs. But I'm not sure how to gauge the success of having the direct marketing effort, but I did have the systems people pull some numbers. So since we started this toward the end of August 2015, we've had 2,546 visits to the blog sites alone. And they said 7,177 page views. So we're thinking about maybe doing some follow-up to that, seeing if we can get people to actually answer a few questions. We'd like to get some more information about who's actually visiting that, because like I said, I don't really know what to do with that information. I'm not sure if that's good or whatever, but one thing I do know is that it's hard to measure quantitatively the success of that, but I do know that we can measure through the comments that faculty make, or, hey, I saw a blog about such and such resource. I'm thinking about having my students look at that. Can I get more information about it? So we have those situations, but we've not really followed up yet quantitatively about how successful it is. But I do feel like one of the things that we're about to do is put a carousel on our website. So right now, if you went to our electronic resources portion of our website, you would have to drill down a couple of layers in order to get to the social media, our social marketing site, and to see the blogs that we're doing on resources. Soon it'll be a carousel at the top of our website. So as soon as you go in the University of Alabama Library's website, you'll start seeing scrolling information about some of our key resources. So I'm excited. Actually, it should be up within. The goal is to have it up before the start of the before the start of the summer session, so in about a week. So.
Well, that sounds really well. First of all, I'm super impressed that you identified a resource in a student, a marketing student, and engaged her to help you in that way. I think that's really smart. And I think everybody struggles with measurement, right? Measuring success. I'll be interested to know as you move forward with the program and the blog and everything, what measurements you put in place, or if you are able to capture anything, definitive. But I think that sounds really exciting.
I think it's that way. Oh, sorry. I just think it's that way with a lot of what we do. It's really hard sometimes to measure the success of some of the things that we do. We can say, how many people were in the class, how many people looked at the blog, but we don't really know what the result was. But when we have a professor say they saw it and they talked about it in their class, or they decided because of that they would come over and have an instruction session, those are what we're trying to, back to what Ann said, it's really about in the trenches. Can we get a few professors to then, oh, I didn't know you had that, I'm going to bring my class over and have an instruction session. That's what we want to get to. And sometimes it's just it's almost like usage data. I always think of, sometimes the usage data on a resource is just one small part of the success of that resource, and sometimes they have the low number of uses but a high impact. And I think that's what it's hard for us to know is what the impact is of what we're doing with our marketing. So.
Can I say one thing about the usage stats? But this is something that I thought about, with the little statistics that I showed for the dramatic increase from zero to use of our SAGE research methods after I did my class, or after I put them in Sakai. And one of my frustrations with that, and it would be similar to what Michael would experience, looking at, the carousel and did it have an impact, is they may click on it once or twice or use it that one time, but then unless you keep hitting them with it over and over, that's like a one-time blip, and then you're back to where you started. So I've experienced that over and over, where I've had the benefit of going to a class and talking about a very specific resource where I am able to go back and look at the usage stats. And yeah, I get all excited, I see a blip, but the blip is usually up and then down to pretty much back where it was. And so that's one of my frustrations with trying to measure the impact of any of these efforts. So like, you can see the instant impact, but the long-term impact is much harder.
Well, that is the perfect segue into my next question, but I'm going to pause for just a moment here and remind our audience to please send us your questions. You can send us a tweet at #SageTalks, or you can also send the question in the question box on your screen. But my next question, which was a beautiful segue, is what challenges do you face when you're trying to promote library resources?
Well, I'll take a stab at it first if you want me to, Ann. So I think that there's still a lot of confusion from faculty and students about what the library has and what we don't have and what we're willing to purchase. And I think that when we're trying to promote library resources, we are having a negative impact from that, is that there's just so much. Sometimes in your library, in our case, we have so much stuff that it's hard to find anything. I'm not sure if that is describing it the way I'm talking about, but I had a professor one time say it's like trying to get a drink out of a fire hose, and trying to get the students to where they can actually find useful information. It's also that just like with the marketing that we have in our daily lives, when we try to market library resources, we're sending out information to people that have reached their max, and so it's hard to get people's attention when they're inundated with so much marketing of stuff on campus. So I think that's one of the challenges. And then going back to, we only have so many people to do this and so much time, and not too many libraries have people specifically assigned the duty of just promoting library resources. And so it's how do we get the most impact for our cost, both in time and money, and then ultimately it is, are we getting the impact that we expect? And I think going back to the measurement part, we don't know, because we don't know what to expect. And so I think we're going to continue to do this and try to promote our library resources through the ways that we are doing it now. And then as long as we can do it and we feel like that there's been some positive impact, we'll continue it. But I don't think it's going to be a situation where we say, okay, now we know that the impact is not reaching this level, so we're going to end this. It's more of we have the people to do it and we have the interest in it, so we're going to do it. But I think there are a lot of things that a lot of challenges we face, with the biggest one being, are people looking at the stuff we're sending out? So.
Well, for me, it's sort of hard not to be just what he said. Let me see if I can think of anything that adds to that, because my list is, I would say my list is very similar to what Michael's already said. It's very hard to get people's attention. They're very distracted. They're very inundated. It's very challenging. My pet challenge, if you will, is it's so hard to reach people at the point of need, to be letting them know about what they need to know about when and where they need it. And so the whole business of emails to faculty pretty much falling on deaf ears. I mean, that has just been my experience so often, unless I'm just fortunate to just really know. Sometimes I just really know what they need when, but that's not the norm. The lack of staffing here, I was just salivating hearing Michael talk about the marketing student, and that's a great idea to bring in some student or other person with some both energy, talent, expertise, and time to work on some of these things, because for us, I think the biggest challenge is the lack of staff to do what a lot of larger libraries are able to do. And then I don't think Michael said this exactly this way. For me, it is a challenge to concisely and cleverly explain what something is and why the user should care. So especially with some of our resources here that are quite specialized, it's just really challenging for me to be able to develop that blurb that just catches them and makes them want to go look because they understand what it is and how it can be of use to them.
So is there anything that publishers could do to help you address any of these challenges?
Michael, could I take a stab at this one first?
Please do.
Great, thank you. So one thing that I think would be very helpful, and this kind of ties in to what I was saying just a moment ago, is to have really clearly written and concise marketing and publicity tools. So often my heart just sinks. I'm using the word publisher broadly. I think vendor might be a better word than just publishers, but the vendors and publishers that their materials focus on the how. These like click here, you can do this to save your searches, and you can do that. And that's not what I'm hungering for. What I'm hungering for is that here's what this product is, and here's why you should care and what it can do for you in some, very attractive, very concise thing that I could have at a desk or hand out to faculty in their offices or at the fair. And I can't tell you how much stuff just gets thrown away because it's so in the weeds. I know nobody's ever going to look at it. And then once I do hook them in and finally victory, people are using it and they're asking me about how to use it, training materials that are, again, clear and concise. And it doesn't have to be print. It can be a LibGuide or something like that, but so often my experience has been with the products that we really need the help with, which might not be an online journal, it's more likely to be a database, is keep it concise. It shouldn't be written for, the huge in the weeds librarian level. There should be a nice help available that once people have been pulled in, if they need help, they need it. And then Heather, I was thinking of you when I'm saying this, the personalized customer support. And so we have some vendors that we work with where the people have really extended themselves to make sure that I, as the librarian, know the materials that they have for publicity and are able to, talk with me very personally about how to use those for outreach. And I just feel like Sage gets an A+ for that. I'm speaking for myself, not for my employer. But Sage and Credo are two that we have where I've just been very impressed with that. I don't want to call it hand-holding exactly, but where there's actually staff there at the other end who are going to help you do the outreach or the training. I think I previously mentioned pens and other promo materials. I think when these aren't cheesy plastic things that nobody knows what they are, they're really wonderful. And over the years, we've had things that hopefully don't cost the vendor or publisher a lot of money, but that provide great talking points. I love going into a class of I used to have these classes that be like 70 students, which for us are huge, and to be able to give each one EBSCO or ProQuest or whatever, Emerald, whatever pen, and say this is one of the library products on our databases page, you know, I think they get put to good use. And then one more thing, and then I'll give Michael his turn. And this is just so basic. I want a nice, clean, easy-to-use interface so that when I finally get the user to go to the site, they can use it. I know it's going to perform well for them regardless of the technology, and it's not just going to be this frustrating, confusing thing that they end up not using because it was too hard or too confusing or crashed or whatever. So I think none of these things are like really rocket science, but they're all what comes to mind for me as support that I want not only to promote but to keep people coming back to resources.
So I definitely agree with Anne that what we need from publishers is the opportunity to go right to the site and grab marketing materials that are on specific products and have it in such a way that we can easily brand it. So hopefully already designed where we just take out the logo that's in there and pop ours in. I've been working over the last few weeks with several publishers, including Sage, to get some examples of different marketing one page, nice, clean, concise, like Anne's talking about, and all I have to do is pop our logo in and not myself send it out, but what I want to do is have them ready so that if I hear about a question people are having, or if it's getting close to time for selector newsletters to go out, I can just send the products to the right selectors and then ask them to just put that blurb or whatever right into their newsletter. So that's one of the things that I'm wanting to do. I think the other thing that publishers have been great about so far, just in my less than a year here, is we've had a lot of interaction from publishers helping us with publisher events here on campus, and they bring the big name of the publisher, and so it's, I mean, we could easily get 75 to 100 people in our room downstairs in our nice conference room to have our presentation room. Of course, they bring the swag, which, as Anne pointed out, is it's not just that it's something that the library, it's not that the library is not having to buy stuff, which obviously it's a benefit to us, but it's really a benefit because to both parties, because it gets the publisher's name in the hands of users, and so I've seen it's very popular, and it gives a great little swag bag to put those promotional materials in. And even if you only get a few people to actually look at those materials, you've got some more small little victories there on your plate. So, and then I think helping us with marketing strategy and ideas, because publishers, that's what you do. Marketing strategy is part of your survival, and so oftentimes for libraries we haven't always been in the marketing business. So that's one of the things with hiring the student. I couldn't afford to hire a professional position, so I did the best I could, which was to get someone who's in their senior year. They have the interest. It's easier to train them about what library resources to blog about and how we want it done than for them to train me on how to do marketing. So I think it was another easy win, easy decision. So. But collaboration with publishers is key, whether it's in marketing or other aspects of what we do. So it's always great to have several publishers that you can count on to come in and talk about new resources, existing ones, training, and all of that we end up marketing about at some point. So.
Well,
Heather?
That was great, and I couldn't agree more. Of course, I think that's great.
So Heather, I had one other thing I wanted to say about this, and I think it's just a super short thing because I know we're very short on time at this point, but it's funny that neither of us brought this up, so I think I at least have to mention it, that of course we are always hoping for standardized and easy to interpret and understand usage statistics so that we know what's being used and what isn't, and so that we can do things like at least try to gauge if our promotion efforts are working. So I felt like I'm not really living and breathing stats, so I didn't have a lot to say about that, but I do think it would be remiss not to at least mention that as something that we are hoping for from publishers and electronic vendors in general.
And if you don't mind, one other thing too that I had noted here, publishers can also help us because you have a lot of information about who on our campus is using your, not necessarily who's using it, but in the case of faculty, you know who's serving on editorial boards, you know who the authors are, and on a campus this big, publishers are much more likely to know who on this campus is going to use your resources in their class than I do, because I have no idea who's publishing in your journals or serving on your boards unless I go to you and ask. So
thank you. That is such valuable feedback, and I've taken crazy notes, and thank you for helping us to become better. So really, that's wonderful feedback for us. The last question I had, and you may have already answered it, but I'm still going to throw it out there, is what kind of promotion is still on your wish list? Is there some big dream type promotion you would love to do and haven't been able to do for whatever reason?
So I don't know if this is a big dream. First, I'd like to say that what Michael is doing with the digital signage is going to be very important for us, because we now have these same campus signs, and when I'm working out at the gym, I'm going, oh my God, we should be having something about ProQuest up there or whatever. So he talked about that, and that was a great reminder for me. My biggest wish list, really, it's not like this big sexy thing, but it's that I would have the contacts and time to be able to analyze every course syllabus and work with every faculty member in the departments that I support. So rather than this, yes, I happen to know person A and person B or person C happen to be responsive, that I would be able across campus to be extremely systematic about interacting with each and every faculty member about what library resources would be most appropriate for them. So it's not like a pie in the sky thing, it's sort of a staff and time kind of a thing.
What about you, Michael? Any big dreams?
I thought about it a little while, and I'm not really sure that we have anything planned. I think right now we're just trying to figure out how to keep this going and maybe do a little bit of evaluation on it. But we feel like we're doing quite a bit, given that before we started this program, really there wasn't an organized effort to market library resources. And so I think we have enough on our plate for right now.
All right, great. Well, those are all the questions that I have prepared for you. And now I guess we'll open it up to the audience. If there are any questions that you have for our panelists, please send them our way. You can either tweet or send them right here in the question box right on your screen. And I'll give everyone a moment to do so. Well, it looks like we're down to the wire. And I don't think we have any questions coming in right now. So what we will do is forward the questions to our speakers to follow up on. If you two would be willing to do that, that would be wonderful. And I want to thank everybody for joining us today. A big applause to our wonderful panelists. We really appreciate you sharing your time and wisdom with us today. So from everyone on stage, thank you so very much for your time today.
Thank you, Heather.
Bye-bye, Heather.
Good luck.
Bye.
Keep fighting the good fight.